Cursed. Cursed. We all go a little mad sometimes.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey, Tomb Dwellers! Welcome to a brand new episode of Tomb of Terrors with me, Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another episode, thank you so much for giving me a listen. If you love the show, drop me a review on your favorite podcast app, or you can become a patron, patreon.com/oldmanbrad. Make sure to follow me on social media. Just look for Old Man Brad on Instagram and Blue Sky. Tomb of Terrors also has a brand new Instagram account. You can follow the show directly over there. And of course, follow me over on Letterboxd so you can see all the watches that I do. We have another great interview for you. I had the chance to talk to Jeremy Herbert, and we talked about his new film, Blood and Rust, which is available on Amazon Prime and Cranked Up TV. It was a good chat with Jeremy. Excited for you to dive into that. But before we do, if you are in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. So thankful to be partnered with the Esquire Theater to host a screening once a month. And our screening for June finishes off our Undead series. We will be watching The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, also known as Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, from 1973. I absolutely love this movie. It has some great practical effect kills in it. It's just creepy. It is just a fun vibe. But come out on June 19th at 10 p.m. and let's watch a movie together. All right, it's time to head out to Middle America and let's talk about Blood and Rust.
Still expect him to tag me out before every breakfast rush.
You want to know?
How many are there?
Too many.
Something keeping you up at night? It really is a small town. Seems everywhere I go, I seem to kill someone you love.
In a fading Rust Belt town of Red Patch, Ohio, nights feel longer, shadows heavier, and strangers never arrive without reason. After losing his father to a strange animal attack, burned-out diner manager Lamont Guest crosses paths with a mysterious drifter, the road-weary vampire slayer Belko, and soon finds himself drawn into battle against the ancient evil that's bleeding his hometown dry. This is directed by Jeremy Herbert. It stars Morgan McLeod, Mark Kelly, Ross Patridge, Diana Frankhauser, and others. And I'm going to tell you right up front that I did enjoy this movie. It is a slow burn, nice, gritty vampire movie with this man who's dealing with the loss of his father as well as other things happening in this small town. I'll dive into it a little bit more of my thoughts after we listen to our interview, but I definitely recommend checking out Blood and Rust. Before I dive too much further, let's listen to my chat with Jeremy Herbert on Blood and Rust, and I will talk to you on the other side. My guest today has done such projects as The Things with the Glowing Green Eyes, The Thing About Beecher's Gate, and Worst Laid Plans. His new film, Blood and Rust, which is out now everywhere, takes us to a dying Rust Belt town with vampires. I want to welcome in writer and director of the film, Jeremy Herbert. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
So where did the idea for Blood and Rust come from?
So a number of years ago, maybe about 6 or 7, me and my steadfast co-writer Wolf Stahl met producer Phil Garrett at a film festival, and he just sort of liked our vibe. It was the trailer for The Things with the Glowing Green Eyes that he saw us post through a mutual, through Dan Allen Kiley, who's in the movie. And he just wanted to talk to us, and we hit it off. And so over the years, he would occasionally be in positions where he knew this person who was looking for a slate of genre films or that company. And he asked us at one point, like, give me a sheet of 1-paragraph pitches for Gothic horror films, modern Gothic horror films. So me and Wolf looked at each other and we said, okay, well, what would we do with each of the Universal monsters. Blood and Rust was technically a fusion because we had a couple takes on vampires or adjacent. The one was a pretty straightforward adaptation of Dracula, moved to an Appalachian sort of mine town. It could have been great. Maybe someday it still will. But I think we just really liked it because of the title, which was Appalachia. And then another one was about like a small town where I think it was a shop teacher noticed some outbreak or whatever and had to team up and stop it. And it just sort of ended up compacting. There was a brief period where there's an actor in the indie action space named Robert Bronzi who looks like Charles Bronson.
Mhm.
There was a minute where the movie was written towards him. And so it's been through a lot of different shapes.
Okay.
One of the few constants was, and we had said this to everyone we talked to from the beginning, was that Lamont, the other lead, has to be Morgan McLeod, who we've worked with since college, who's always been my leading man. And I was like, it's got to be him. We could put anyone next to him, but it just has to be him. And so it just kind of kept building from there and figuring, well, what sort of vampire story fits Middle Ohio, because it's not lost on anyone who's from Middle Ohio what's happening to Middle Ohio. And Middle Ohio is the Midwest, the middle of the country. It's the same story everywhere. Wolf grew up on a farm out in northeastern Ohio. He's seen it closer than most, how that kind of comes and goes. And so we just started building, what's this about? The restlessness of wanting to leave, but only knowing this life and having this sort of destiny laid out for you because the size of the world is getting smaller and smaller. And the idea of a loss of a father, I lost my dad when I was 13. So that pops up here and there across different projects. And it just sort of snowballed from there. Once it was clear, once Good Deed became, and their horror imprint cranked up, became it. And they told us what they wanted from the movie, what they had in mind. Then we really went like, okay, so this is going to be a real movie. This is going to be bigger than anything we've done before. How far can we push this? What can we get away with? Step one, there's got to be a sword fight. So we approached it like, if we never get to make a feature again, at least we did as much as we possibly could with this one.
And were there any inspirations as far as the vampire lore goes? I know you changed a few things here and there, which I dug that part. I love the changes he kind of made.
The funniest thing, there was an early trailer reaction, and I think it was a teaser, and I think the teaser ends with one of them getting burst onto Morgan's face, and it's just all the dust and stuff. And one of the comments was like, what's with the dust? And that's a fair question. What is with the dust? Once it was clear that Good Deed was interested in the vampire part and we started digging, Wolf and I made the horrifying realization that we were not particularly enthralled by vampires as they are usually depicted. And so we just started playing. We figured actually that the dust would be cheaper than having to rig a lot of blood, but also it started rhyming with everything else, that the town is drying out. It is rusting out from the inside. And the rustier it gets, the more desperate people get. And it's just the squeezing on everybody. And so we knew we had two levels. We had to have the boss vampire. And then once the subtext really came into clarity, we're like, oh yeah, okay, we're just going to call him the boss. There's no other reason to call this man anything else. Big money type swoops into a small town, takes over, wrings everything of profit. Locals get more and more desperate and have less and less resources. And unfortunately, that's the thing. I think Wolf at one point said, in this story, the vampires are Dollar Generals. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I get this now.
Honestly, when you think of it that way and think about the vampires in the movie, you're like, it makes sense.
Yeah, I hate, thank goodness. At least you're not like, really?
This was filmed on location. Can you speak to the location that you found that you filmed this in? Was it a small town?
Yes, filmed in beautiful Ashland, Ohio, where Good Deed is headquartered. And that was one of the great things because in the sort of flux years, we didn't know, maybe it would be shot in Pennsylvania, maybe it would be shot over there. And I think even maybe in the shooting script, it was still Red Patch, Pennsylvania. And we decided, why are we pretending? We had like a scouting trip months before we shot. And it was beautiful and melancholy to see there are a million small towns that maps are starting to not cover anymore. And downtown is one intersection, no building taller than 2 stories. And that's all of Middle Ohio. There's a spine, there's Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, and then sort of everything else is green on most maps that you look at. Just exploring that green was great. We had a couple drive-ins we could choose from. There were a few abandoned ones, I'm pretty sure, that we checked out. In Ashland, like a mile from base, we found an abandoned and soon to be demolished at the time latex factory. Because Ashland, Ohio, once upon a time, was the latex capital of either the country or the world. So all of the most obvious ones, everything industrial at the end of the movie was inside the latex factory. But we also managed to squeak the autopsy room, the sheriff's office, and there's one other location. I forget what. Oh, the parking lot of it is the parking lot of the roadkill dispensary. All at that location. And the only reason was like, it's gone. The industry died, so we're using this giant structure. And the walls looked like clowns were bleeding all over them because it was just latex colors up and down. And you could see them in the movie. They look darker because of what we did. But so much of the movie is only possible because of how much churn there is in that part of the country. Ashland is doing great. It's a very vibrant little town. You can see it at the edges. You go anywhere to the outside. The convenience store, that was a former convenience store. The new owner let us very kindly shoot in, and they were overhauling it, I think, into another kind of store. So there's always this turning and trying to revitalize, and it gets tougher and tougher, that part of the country.
What were some of your biggest challenges when you were, like, okay, we're going to make this movie finally. Let's go. We got our location. We're filming and go.
Well, the problem is that it's a very big movie, and it's not a very big budget. But that was kind of always the understanding, was that they wanted a big movie. And we wanted to make a big movie because this is the short that kind of led to anything for us was the thing about Beecher's Gate, which cost $250. This movie cost $250,000. So at any given time, I'm like, is this 1,000 times as grand as that movie? Which is bad math. Don't do it. It'll only hurt you kids. But it is something to keep in mind. What can we do? What can we get away with? But that became the game. In early drafts, the sword fight was longer. Okay, well, now we have a half day. What can you get in that half day? We have this, I still kick myself. We had this gorgeous factory location, and we had all these ideas for, if we have an extra minute, we're going to get this B-roll. You don't have an extra minute. You have -5 hours by the end of the shoot, pick and choose very carefully. So it was making the most of it. It was making the movie feel bigger than it is. And that's that's a constant fight, not against anybody, but against everything. And that's really what the toughest part was.
And honestly, it's I think almost every indie filmmaker I've talked to, it's budget and time are two of the things that they race against. How long was your shoot?
15 days.
You mentioned before when you were setting up, you're like, Morgan McLeod, he's got to be in it, and then we'll kind of go around that. I mean, bringing someone you've worked with and everything that you've done probably helped kind of make things a little easier for you.
Oh yeah, because I never have to worry about Morgan. We've done it how many times, and he'll always be hard on himself in the finished product, but I know better. I'm like, no, you're doing great. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're doing great. And we have a shorthand, and that's why, for the purest practical sense, it made perfect sense to bring him. And the other thing is, on this movie, it was him, it was Wolf, who I've been writing with for a decade now. Second camera was Dylan Lusk, who I worked with in college. Costumer, Sammy Mahalik, also know from college. You just keep going. Whoever you can, you get along with, you keep around. And in Morgan's case, it's like, you know what? We brought each other to this dance. So we're here. I'm not going to say, all right, let's see who else we can get. Like, no, man, this is why, this is why we're here. This is what we've been working towards. And if someone else hires him, I can stop making movies. That's all I say.
But it has to help you, especially with shortened time, to be like, okay, he knows how you work, you know how he works. And it's like, okay, we have this scene, this is what we got to do. And you're like, oh yeah, we got this. And kind of.
Oh yeah. We've made shorts where the crew has gone to bed and it's me and him and it's 4 a.m. and we don't even talk anymore. It's not tension. It's literally, we've lost the ability. And I just say, and he just get like, all right, I don't know that. And then he gets it. And it is very crucial as a director. If you know there's something weird you have to get, like it won't feel right, but you have to look at that spot off camera. It is well within every actor's right to be like, why? Why are we doing this? But Morgan knows me well enough. He'll just do it. And then, no one will ever know it was weird in the finished product. He's like, all right, we need this. And that's that language, that trust that you can only build for doing it so long.
This came out last week on Cranked Up, and you can get it on Amazon Prime. What's the reaction so far kind of been for it?
Far as I can tell, it's been very warm and very understanding, which sounds condescending, but I don't mean it that way. Everyone seems to get what we're doing and what the movie is. Because especially right now, there's sort of a lot of the buzzy horror movies have a very distinct, or like one, not even full sentence, 3-word hook, even like Obsession. It's just the monkey's paw again. And there's some buzzword about it. And a lot of modern horror movies, if I may be so bold, there are metaphors and there are movies. And sometimes they forget which is which. If you're making a metaphor instead of a movie, once the metaphor is clear, you don't have a movie. You can say what you want in a movie, but it has to be a movie first. And in our case, like, by the log line, you don't necessarily know what the movie's about. It's a vampire action movie. And you can watch it and not know what it's about or care what it's about. Thank goodness that's what we want to do. We really wanted to make an old-fashioned movie. I used to call them scratch-offs with my shorts because they all work the same way. Like, hopefully you can watch it, have a good time, eat popcorn. If you want to scratch it off, there's a lot under the hood. You don't have to, but you can. And so a lot of people really picked up on that. And a lot of people really watch it without wanting to dig into that and still have a great time with it and say, this is an old-fashioned movie. They don't really make movies like this anymore because, God help us, we did try to make a big 3-act blockbuster on a budget in Ashland, Ohio. And the fact that people are liking it, I think we got away with it,
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a slow burn, dying town vampire flick that just kind of builds as it goes, and it's a good time.
I mean, thank you. Good. I'm glad, and that's really all we wanted it to be, to prove that we could pull off. Anything else is gravy at this point.
Now that this is kind of out in the world, and you were like, we made it. What's next for you?
Oh boy. It's always like finishing a marathon and asking someone like, oh, so when's the next one?
You're just going to pick right up, right?
I don't know. I mean, me and Wolf were finishing up a script for a mummy movie. Me and a local friend of mine down in Florida, because I'm from Ohio, but I moved and I flew back to shoot this. We wrote a script that's more or less the Texas Chainsaw of Central Florida. And these are all, you're right. In terms of something practical that I could do on my own scale, I don't know.
Okay.
That's sort of the catch of something like Blood and Rust, is that's now the ceiling for what we've done, and you want to keep going or even stay at that level. But that's no longer my choice. It's like you just got to hope that you find someone who says, all right, I like what you've done. What else can you do?
Yeah.
That's no longer in my hands.
Let me ask you, kind of as we kind of start to wrap things up, where can people kind of follow along to you to see what you have going next?
You can find me at D-Day Films pretty much everywhere, and I'm always toiling at something. Certainly with movies, they're going to see a lot of posts about Blood and Rust for the next several months, but that's fine. You can mute me, but just follow me. And stay tuned, because at this point, even I don't really know what comes next. It's all about, putting as many chips on the table as you can and waiting for one of the hands to win. So,
Jeremy, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me, and wish you the best with Blood and Rust and whatever happens next.
Thank you. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for talking about it. Thank you for having me. This is what keeps movies going now. This is what makes movies at this scale possible, is that people say, hey, I enjoyed this, you enjoy this too. So thank you so much.
I'm gonna leave you I've asked a few directors this, and it kind of it throws them for a stump. If you could describe this movie in just one word, what would it be?
This is a loaded word. I don't mean it in the egotistical sense, but classic.
All right.
It's a nicer way to say old fashioned.
I like it. Well, thank you so much again for chatting with me.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank Jeremy again for taking time out of his day to chat with me. It was a nice chat. We probably could have talked for quite a while, but I do look forward to seeing what he has next, whether we get another Blood and Rust or what it might be. Okay, so Blood and Rust, this movie does have a lot of influences in it. It is a slow burn, kind of gritty vampire film that makes you think of movies such as John Carpenter's Vampires. I immediately, as I was watching it, that's the immediate thing that I jumped to. I was like, oh, this is kind of has that feel of John Carpenter's Vampires, where it's a little slow. You're kind of in these rundown area, but there are darker things at play here. Morgan McLeod, his character Lamont, he works at this diner in this old town, and anyone who has kind of been to the Midwest, Middle America, these small towns that are just dying, big corporations, big companies, and other things are kind of taking stuff away from these small towns, and there isn't much left. A lot of them, it's a single diner. There might be a gas station or other things there, but there's just not much. They're not thriving like they used to. So in this town, you kind of know when a stranger comes to town, when it's somebody you don't know because you know everybody in this town. Something happens. Lamont's father dies. He passes away. I'm not going to say what happens because it kind of will spoil a little bit of the movie. But a lot of this, he is dealing with not only the loss of his father, but there's this darker force at play, the boss. When Belko shows up talking about vampires and everything else, Lamont's like not believing what's going on, as well as, he's dealing with his father and his friend Marlene, who it's kind of this odd relationship. I think she wants more from him, but he's like not sure, kind of friends. It's this whole back and forth thing. But what I love about this movie, not only the slow burn kind of gritty of it, it just kind of hooked me in, and it kept me interested throughout the whole thing. But Jeremy alluded to it in the interview, is kind of the twist he has on a vampire, where the town itself is not only dying, it's dusty and dry, just dying. But vampires themselves, it's kind of that same way. They're dead. So dead inside. And he talked about the effects of the blood effects. Instead of blood spraying out, it's like a red mist, like dust. It's basically, they're just dust inside, decaying, rusting out, so to speak. I liked that twist on it. And the vampires themselves kind of had me thinking of 30 Days of Night, where they're not your typical glittery vampire that's trying to seduce somebody. They're monsters. They're dying, they're decaying, they don't just have the fancy fangs, they have teeth like a monster, like they're going to come eat you. Some of them are bandaged up because their flesh is dying and kind of falling off. The boss, the main vampire, of course, is still what you would think of from a vampire. But it did kind of make me feel 30 Days of Night a little bit, with a little twist on how the vampire looks. But as we kind of go along and learn more of what is happening, more of the boss, the vampires, Lamont's kind of like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do what I can. I want to help out, kind of thing. It plays along really nicely. I love the style of this film. I love the look of the film. There are a few moments in the movie I kind of wish it would have picked up a little more, but it didn't take away from the movie to where I still had a good time with it. It had me engaged in it. It's one of those, like, it's tough for movies at home because they have to draw your attention away from not, picking up your device or doing something else while you're watching. And this movie just had me locked in. I was ready. I watched away and would definitely recommend it. I mean, if you have access to Cranked Up TV, the streaming service, definitely go check it out. Or I know it's available to rent on Amazon Prime. Blood and Rust definitely gets a recommend from me. It was a nice, slow burn, gritty vampire movie in the vein of John Carpenter's Vampires. And that leads us to our double feature for this episode. And, I've mentioned it multiple times and said it, what it kind of reminds me of. So that is the easy go-to double feature to go with Blood and Rust is John Carpenter's Vampires. Vampires is one of my favorite Carpenter films. I loved what he did with vampires when Vampires came out. I liked the kind of just like this, the gritty, slow burn, just dirty vampire flick. You could almost pair this with something like Near Dark from 1987. Kind of has that same kind of thing going for it. But my double feature, John Carpenter's Vampires, Blood and Rust, that is your double feature for this episode. Well, that will do it for this episode of Tomb of Terrors. Just make sure you subscribe to the show so you don't miss anything over here on the feed, whether it is these interview episodes, the quick reviews I do, verses I do with my wife. We are working on a new one right now. We're going to be doing Carrie or Tales from Tubi, and of course, the year of Paul Naschy. A full year covering Paul Naschy movies. One a month here over on the feed with special guests. We've done 4 thus far. The next one, Horror Rises from the Tomb, with my good friend Drew from the Real Feels podcast, will be coming out very soon. And then I will be doing additional episodes over on YouTube. Go follow the YouTube channel. Just look for Tomb of Terrors, as well as a few over on Patreon. I think I'm going to have 20 total throughout the year. But go check them out. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.